Hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and this video is entitled The Power of Self-Focused Questions. I hope you'll join my YouTube channel membership. I hope you'll subscribe and also click the bell for all the new videos that are coming out. And there are also 3 workshops, 4 hours each, that are available for rent or purchase on my website. One of the things I do, and I also teach other associates to do, is to coach my clients to learn to ask self-focused questions versus other focused questions. And I think that's an important topic. In the realm of family systems and in the realm of Bowen family systems, and I believe also even in the realm of good therapy or good coaching, asking good questions or the right questions, given how we formulate the problem that we have, is so critical. Because I remember asking questions all of my life, but I was not asking good questions. I was asking questions that came out of my own paradigm or my own way of seeing things, which was broken. I've been working with people and clients for over 40 years now, and I found it's not so much people come with wrong solutions, but they come with wrong questions. And again, questions can tell you everything if you listen carefully. Because questions will come out of our own understanding, our own subjectivity, and our own ways of viewing problems. Now, let me describe what I mean by self-focused, other-focused. I might even talk about systems questions. There are other focused questions like, why does Steve keep putting me down? That's an other focused question. I'm focusing on Steve. I'm also asking why, about him or about them or about my family or about my spouse, or I'm focused on the other with those questions. Then there are self-focused questions like, how do I feel? How do I function when Steve puts me down? That's a self-focused question. And I think self-focused questions, though harder, are much better than asking the other focused questions. And then thirdly, I think of like their general systems questions, like how would Steve react if I spoke with him about my feelings and beliefs and asked him to stop putting me down? How would I react or respond to his reaction? Now we're asking some systems questions. And I believe those are very helpful as well. But today I just kind of wanted to focus on other focused and self-focused questions. Family systems work helps us to ask better questions, and we're more likely to get better answers. Again, if I remember going round and round and round and looking for the answers that I was looking for, reading lots of self-help books, reading lots of articles. And unfortunately, my questions were leading me in the wrong direction. Again, they weren't bad questions. They just weren't as helpful questions. How do I gain self-esteem? How do I start having self-esteem? Then I go read 100 books on how to have self-esteem. Now, there's nothing wrong with learning about the way self-esteem functions, or even the way that you could maybe do some techniques of some kinds to help with self-esteem. But what I found was it was more helpful for me when someone was helping me learn a new question. Jerry, When are you going to choose to esteem yourself? And it got translated into a when question rather than a how question. And so I think that made a big difference for me because I thought I'm helpless to have better self esteem. So I just got to go find this cookbook that will tell me how to do it. No one ever said, uh, let's explore why you're not ready to have self esteem. Let's explore how your self esteem or low self esteem functions in your life. And what are the downsides of having self esteem? And those were better questions for me than how can I raise my self esteem? Because that makes it sound like all you do is kind of give yourself a shot and you'll have a raise in your self esteem. Well, I'm not sure that it works quite that way. At least I tried and it didn't work that way. Maybe some of you are more successful than I. Often, couples I have seen and worked with come in and say they have trouble with communication. Then they both talk to me about each other and they have um, they have trouble with communication. Then they both come talk to me and to each other, exhibiting no problems with communicating. So they have the wrong problem formulation, the wrong question. It's not communication they have trouble with, it's much deeper than that and probably more systems oriented. Often they can communicate, but now they don't like what they are hearing from their partner or their spouse. And so they equate it as a communication problem. Most times it's not a communication problem. Couples talk all the time and they understand each other but we can have intimacy problems and also shame, guilt problems, allergy to intimacy problems. But most couples don't come in and say those things. They more likely formulate it like, well, we're having a communication problem. Asking the right questions can really help us. It can really help us to grow up, to break through our stuckness or our stuck place, and to achieve greater self differentiation. We have been taught to ask the wrong questions growing up. Instead of a family asking mom about getting help for herself, they each ask each other how they can adjust and cater to mom's unhappiness so I don't become a target of hers. And we learn not to ask those questions. We learn not to ask the most straightforward questions, and we often learn to ask the most avoidant questions. Often this supports the family's status quo of dysfunction. Many kids don't often ask their parents, Mom, why is dad drinking way too much? That's kind of a straightforward question for a kid to ask. And then many times we're given a camouflage answer so that we don't upset dad, so that we stay in denial. And again, our questions also are driven many times by denial and what we don't know. And a question will have what you don't know in the question. But today I just want to talk about other focused and self-focused questions. But questions are very important in family systems work and family of origin work. I've got a workshop coming up, hopefully on April 10th, and we're leaning towards overcoming shame and guilt through family of origin work. And that would be April 10th, 2021. And I hope you'll join us for that. And we're going to be talking about more questions there and good questions that we need to ask to overcome guilt and shame. My life was driven by guilt. That was basically how I did everything. What would cause me to be the least guilty? And I would move that direction. And that would be my direction. I also felt shame and not accepting of myself and not loving myself and not valuing myself. So we're going to be talking about shame and guilt in the next workshop, and I hope you'll join me. Join the website, just log in, put in your email address, then you'll be on our email list, and we'll send you all the information about the workshop. So here's some examples of other-focused and self-focused questions. An other-focused question would be, how can I get my son to function better? He's under-functioning, and I want to know what I can do to help him. Not a crazy question, not a ridiculous question, but it is an other-focused question. Some self-focused questions would be, what might be the downsides of my son's functioning or over-functioning for me? A harder question, but an important one. Would I lose him? Would he grow up? Would he become more independent? Would I feel abandoned by him in that way? And again, trying to look at what would be the downsides of the good. Another question would be, what are the upsides for me if my son continues to underfunction? What might I get out of my son underfunctioning? I can continue to be a parent, take care of them. I like parenting. I like overfunctioning. So there could be a lot of benefits to my son's underfunctioning. A self-focused question, again, would be, how much do I worry about him? Focus on him, even obsess about him. That's a self-focused question. Another one would be, what would I be doing if I did not focus on my son and his underfunctioning? What would I be doing instead? That's also a systems question as well, but it's a self-focused question rather than, why does my son do what he does? Those kinds of questions. Another example would be, how can I get my sister to stop gossiping? We could put anything in there. Just as an example. That's an other focused question. A self-focused question would be, what is my reactivity, my self-regulation and functioning when my sister gossips? How do I feel? How do I react? What do I do? That's a self-focused question. An other focused example, again, why does my father keep criticizing me? Why won't he stop? Self-focused question would be, what is my response? How do I function when my dad criticizes me? Do I absorb it? Do I observe it? Do I feel bad? Where did I learn to feel bad about that? What was my earliest recollection of feeling bad about that? Those are self-focused questions versus other-focused questions. And again, my hypothesis today and my belief is, so many times other-focused questions don't often get us anywhere. And they don't give us much in terms of currency or anything we can use to grow, to understand the situation differently. Another example, other focused, why does my family scapegoat me? How can they be so cruel? Self-focused questions, what do I do, say, and believe when my family scapegoats me? What self-care do I do? What self-soothing do I do? How do I self-differentiate myself when I am being scapegoated? I think those are much more helpful questions in terms of growth and becoming an adult and mature. Another example, other focused. What do I have to do to get my father and brother from talking about me behind my back? Self-focused. When my father and brother make fun of me behind my back, And often we always almost know that. We can sense it, feel it, the vibes go out about it. The emotional system feels it. Uh, when they do this, how do I feel? How do I respond? And how do they take my power away when they do this? How do I give my power away when they do this? Those are all self-focused questions versus other focused questions. Another example, and maybe the last example here, why won't my mother accept my wife? How can I get her to stop being critical of her? When my mother talks about my wife in negative terms, again, a self-focused question, how do I feel? What is a healthy, mature way to function with mom? And what are my boundaries? And what boundaries are appropriate? And again, we're focusing on self rather than what's going on with mom and why is she doing what she's doing. Again, as I mentioned, why questions, and in fact, in my next statement, I have found it is helpful to use, helpful not to use why questions, but prefer to use when, how, and what questions. Because why questions don't often get you anywhere. They often don't answer your question for you. Uh, Having been a pastoral counselor, one of the things I found many times when people ask why questions, it's usually an angry question or it's about anger. Not that they ask it in an angry way, but it's out of anger that they ask why, which is the whole notion of why God or why higher power, you know, and they have emotional dynamic to them, but the answers to them um, are not often very usable. Again, I have a workshop coming up in April. You might want to check on the website and see if that would be something for you. Uh, there are 3 workshops available on my website now. They're all 4 hours each. And I believe it makes for a great mini masterclass for all 3 of them. That's about 12 hours. You can rent or purchase them. And today I want to thank you for joining me. Have a great day and be wise.